Hey guys, how you doing today? Glory be and mercy me, spring is finally here. The Canadian inside of me, the Manitoban inside of me certainly thinks there's no way this weather sticks around, right? There's no way, like we're having an early April Fool's Day is what's happening, right? But it's a gorgeous day. If you've got nice weather at all, please, for the love of God, try to get out, try to enjoy as best you can. Our capitalist owners don't want us to enjoy the weather, right? Very, very obvious. They want to keep us in little boxes away from the sun, away from the glory of nature, away from all of this stuff, right? And no more is this more obvious than in the discussion we're having about the basic income. So StatsCan comes out with a report, right? It says that poverty in Canada has gone down. Great success over the last 4 years, including through this last pandemic year. Poverty has gone down, according to StatsCan, right? So, why, right? Well, according to StatsCan, the number one reason was the child care benefit, right? It's a basic income style policy designed to give direct financial support to families with children in order to help them, live their lives, pay for school, pay for clothing, pay for food, pay for the necessities of life, right? Because if you're going to build your society around a market, right, then you need to give people access to that market. We've already made this concession for people, for the elderly. We've already made this concession for children, right? Are we going to make this concession for the rest of us? Are we going to say that, we've erected a system that's actually in free fall collapse, that's actually not working, that reorganizes itself without consulting the populace, that just reorganizes itself and excludes large segments of the populace? Are we actually going to get around to doing this? Are we actually going to do it? I'm getting to the point now with the basic income conversation where if you're standing against the basic income or against poverty alleviation generally, I think that there might actually be something wrong with you. Like, I don't think we're having a disagreement along political lines any longer. I don't think we're having a minor disagreement about how to solve a problem. I am now beginning to think that you no longer want to solve the problem, right? You no longer see that there is a problem. And we all know who I'm talking about, right? The conservatives who refuse to acknowledge the existence of climate change, who refuse to stand up and actually say that climate change is an issue, that climate change is a problem, that we should actually focus our attention on climate change, right? It's very believable, it's very easy for me to believe that those people who are refusing to acknowledge that climate change is real, right, are also refusing to acknowledge that poverty is a systemic societal issue, right? It's a structural problem. Poverty doesn't exist because someone's lazy, or poverty doesn't exist because, you can't just pull himself up and get his job done, right? If you've structured your society to extract all of the opportunity, right, what's a person supposed to do? And we're looking at a group of people, like, I just saw an interview with Jason Kenney, right? And Jason Kenney was saying that the major problem facing conservatives in the future is that there's all these educated people who went through the school system and who have what he calls a collectivist worldview, right? And when you actually stop and pause and think about that, you really realize that what Jason Kenney is complaining about is that large segments of the population care about one another, right? That we look at one another and say, hey, we're facing these problems together. Can we solve these problems together, right? According to Jason Kenney, this is a major problem for the Conservative Party. Maybe the Conservative Party should no longer exist, right? Maybe if you're standing up and you're saying out loud that people's food and shelter should not be a guarantee, that they should have to sell themselves to a group of rapacious sociopaths who are actively attempting to gaslight us and convince us. Just hold on a second, just walking past the garbage truck. Sorry guys. The garbage truck. Good, strong working men. Gotta love them. That's a good union job too, right? Doing good work, doing important work for us. and we should support them too, right? These people hit hard times, right? We should have a basic income to help these sorts of people as well whenever they get into the midst of a thing. And that's the benefit of a basic income. That's what it is all about, is that life is uncertain and chaotic and unstructured, especially Western societies, where for the last 40, 50 years, we've literally been saying out loud that we should just dismantle the place and turn and use chaos to decide what happens, right? Let the free market decide. Just allow chaos to reign. And of course, this death cult style ideology is precisely what wealthy people want, because if you're going to let chaos reign, and well, then that means that the people who have resources are going to be able to withstand the chaos, and the people who don't can go die, right? They're fine with that. They're completely fine with that. Just go ask Jason Kenney, right? The number one problem facing the Conservative Party is that people care about one another. That's the problem. If you're one of these people that jump out of these videos or around this point, please just leave a subscription. Please just leave a like. Please just leave a comment. Do all the things. Hit all the bells, hit all the whistles. It really helps me out, right? And helps out the leftist cause. Because stuff like a basic income, it's steadily becoming less and less controversial. People are seeing it more and more as a way to recover from this collapsing neoliberal ideology that we've all been living through. I was listening to a podcast from Alberta Advantage, right? Which is a pretty right-wing, center-right though, not like right-wing like Jason Kenney is right-wing, like pretty far crypto-fascist, but like a center-right kind of podcast. And they actually did a really good job about talking about the basic income and laying out the case. And then of course, when it came time to critique the basic income, they fell right back into that old style conservative kind of talking point. Well, what's it going to cost? How much is it going to cost? And they had this thing where they all said like, oh wow, it's such a huge sum of money. It's equal to 8% of our GDP if we wanted to fund this thing. That's a huge increase in spending. And I had to stop and I had to go, wait a minute. You mean the populace is receiving less than 10% of the GDP, right? You mean the populace is receiving less than 10% of the GDP? The populace should be receiving like 80, 90% of the GDP, 100% of the GDP. Like we should be receiving all of it. What is this talk that it's like, oh no, 10% of the GDP is going to go to people instead of just get jammed into the bank accounts of wealthy oligarchs, right? And one of the things that these right-wingers will never actually ever talk about is we are paying for it already, right? We're paying for it in the desperation of the populace. We're paying for it in the destitution of the populace. We're paying for it when we abandon people to the street. We're paying for it when we force people to choose between electricity or food that month, right? We're paying for it in these different ways. And ultimately, when these people finally, who we've abandoned completely, finally have the mental break that we've set them up to have, right? Well, we pay for it then too. Police services, emergency services, right? These things cost money. We pay for it that way, right? And if we were to do, and this is again, something the right wing will never actually do. Let's do a cost benefit analysis, right? Take the cost of what it would cost to just pay for a basic income up front, but then compare that to how much we're actually paying on poverty. Organizations like the Food Banks of Canada actually did this, right? They didn't do it directly, of course, but they've done studies on how much poverty is costing the societies. We know how much poverty is costing our societies, right? Shelters aren't free. It isn't free to have a doctor respond to emergency services. It's not free to do these sorts of things, right? So, and when you actually do the cost benefit analysis, you realize, you know what, a basic income would just be cheaper. It would just be cheaper. It would be cheaper, it'd be more efficient, it'd be more effective. And how do we know it'd be cheaper and more efficient and more effective? Because we've got the childcare benefit. We've got the childcare benefit. We literally are just giving money to children, right? Started by Stephen Harper, by the way, expanded by the Trudeau Liberals because it's a good policy that works, right? And so now we're getting into the position where we're saying, okay, well, why aren't we taking this policy that obviously works, that we've run major studies on, that we've done pilots on, that we have evidence for, that we have all of this stuff? Why aren't we actually doing it? And I'm getting to a point now where I'm happy to say that it's because the people in power are in a sociopathic death cult, right? They're not actually interested in helping people. They're not actually interested in helping the populace. They view us as degenerates. They view us as serfs, right? They view us as people who need to be despised and spit at, right? That the idea that we're standing up and actually saying, hey, can I actually live a life? Can I actually like go outside and enjoy myself? Can I actually get time to myself? Can I actually get time to be with my friends and be with my family, right? That if we have the audacity to actually stand up and say that, oh, we must be lazy complaining layabouts, right? That we just need to shut up and know our place. And that's how we should live our lives. I don't agree with that. And I don't think anybody should agree with that. I think if a person is willing to stand up and say that people should not have access to food and shelter as a byproduct of their existence, right? As a byproduct, like, if the structure of the society, we live in a very complex society, right? If the society is not structured to just generate food and shelter for people, then the society is not worth a damn, right? I'm going to say that again because I think it's something everybody needs to drive through their head. If we're going to live in a complex society and follow the rules of the society, but the society doesn't actually provide the base necessities for us, then it's not worth a damn, right? We don't need to follow any of its rules. We don't need to pay attention to anything it says because we don't live in a civil society, right? If the society excludes my ability to generate food for myself, I can't farm, right? I can't get access to land. I can't get access to any of this kind of stuff, right? Just like millions of people can't get access to land, can't get access to this kind of stuff. They've been excluded from the process of actually creating food for themselves. And then if you're going to do that and then say, oh, and incidentally, we're also not going to provide food or shelter freely given while we exclude you from it. And then you start to ask, well, how do I get access to food and shelter? And they say, well, you have to sell yourselves to us, right? This is slavery. This is a slave system that I'm describing here. And it's something that we need to get our heads around and we need to acknowledge is the truth. Now, I don't think the basic income is the final answer. People do treat it like it's a silver bullet kind of an answer. I don't. I think it is a transitionary measure. I think it is a way to easily transition people away from this collapsed and failed system of neoliberal capitalism, to get us away from where we are going, which is a neo-feudalism, right? Like a technology-based feudalism, and drive us towards a socialist communism, which is where we need to go, right? We need to get to a place where it's the workers that own the means of production, where it's the workers that are doing everything. Just take a look at my time. Oh, I got plenty of time. And that's really the goal. The goal isn't to give people a basic income and then let them, live off that and that's fine. It's to give people the basic income as a stopgap measure so that the market system that we are excluding them from, we can have them enter until we can finally alter the system enough that something like a basic income is not even necessary, right? It's not actually necessary to have a basic income. If you, let's say, nationalize the housing market, if you nationalize the food supply, these are things that I believe that we should be doing. Okay, guys, this is the end of this video. I hope you're doing wonderfully out there. I really do. What a beautiful day it is outside. Don't let these guys gaslight you, right? These guys spend billions of dollars gaslighting you every single day. They fund major political parties like the Conservatives, who are now a sociopathic death cult. They fund news organizations like the National Post, the Globe and Mail, right? And they all do it just to just to gaslight you into thinking that you're worth less than you are. You're wonderful. You're doing wonderfully out there. I hope you're doing great. Good luck. We're gonna need it.